The City of Newark presents the 31st annual celebration Sing Praise of King, celebrating the life and the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Ladies and gentlemen, by the sounds of your hands, put them together and give a round of applause to the Honorable Mayor of this wonderful city, Mayor Raz J. Baraka.
Let's give another round of applause for those young people, please. Come on. Let's let them know we care for them and we got their back. That's right, and we have to showcase them as much as we possibly can because our enemies love to showcase to us how horrible our young people are, and we have to do the opposite of that and showcase how outstanding and beautiful they are and how mighty they are. And you got two at that very young age in God's way. So it's with deep, deep pleasure that we are here this evening in Newark, the state's largest city, celebrating the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King once again, whose very life was stolen by the same forces that commercialized this day in the first place. And for all intents and purposes, these people are still in power today. Now, I don't say that to lament or be sad, but to make sure that we're clear that the enemy is still working. And at some point, we have to move from just celebrating King's legacy to start building on it. Dr. King was very clear on the uneven and unequal existence that this country has birthed and nurtured from. He called it two Americas that grew strong from white supremacy and economic exploitation, that fed us a daily dose of self-hatred, that has comforted us with denial and neglect and taught us everything wrong with us and the world had its origins deep in our complexion and our culture, and have taught whites to enjoy a privilege of being better than you even if they were starving or couldn't find jobs or decent opportunities for themselves, that even if they were in a low state, they would always be better than you. And so the idea of being equal to us has become more devastating to them than the fact that 143 million, that's 43% of Americans, live in poverty, and many more of low wealth, that 37 million Americans have no health care at all, and that 400 families make over $90,000 an hour, and we can't figure out how to get most of us even to 15. They at least 60 million of them that voted for Donald Trump. 60 million Americans voted for Donald Trump. They voted for him anyway, even as he begun weaponizing white supremacy in full public view. In spite of everything he did, everything he said, they voted for him anyway. So the problem is not Donald Trump, the problem is the 60 million Americans who voted for Donald Trump. They would rather be better than you than to push for their own interests. They would rather their children die of curable diseases than all of us have health care. They would rather be uneducated and backbreaking jobs than fight for free education for all. Their hatred for you has been the boulder in the way of their own tomb. Dr. King knew this intimately. Many of us don't even understand who Dr. King was. We have been fed and given the alternative king, orchestrated in the imagination of our enemies. We are taught King by those who despise them. We learn about him by the very people who plotted and organized his death and his demise. King knew this country had a problem. It was schizophrenic. He tried to hold a mirror to its face, tried to develop an offensive strategy that we miss today. It's not enough for us to attack individual acts of hatred and racism. It's not enough for us to be against Donald Trump and white nationalism. We have to be against the policies that feed and foster hatred and inequality. And we have to be for something else as well. Well, we have to have a mind to build. And in this city, I find myself on social media arguing with people about whether buildings should be 10 stories or 12 stories when a third of our children live in poverty. 40,000 people are on lists waiting for housing. Each year, dozens of our children lose their lives to street violence. And we live in one of the wealthiest states in the nation, where the median wealth for white families is $271,402. And the median wealth for black families is $5,900. And Latinos is $7,020. While our children are 30 times more likely to be incarcerated for the same crimes committed by white children. This year, we have to celebrate King differently. We have to celebrate King by acting, by developing an offensive strategy, by looking to help each other, not destroy each other. We have to have the mind to build. We have become experts at criticizing each other, even destroying one another, but less proficient in strategizing a way up and a way out, a plan to build something new, not to celebrate King by discussing how terrible things are, but measuring what we have done today and how far we have to go. I know it's difficult. It's overwhelming. I know it is. It's easy to give up. But we have to understand that our love for each other must be greater than our enemy's plans to destroy us. That even in our disagreement, we must remember the higher cause, the larger issue, the greater point. That even at the face of defeat, we have to know that God is with us. That God is with the righteous, with the good. Now I want to close. I visited Ghana this year. I know you know it's all over social media. Boy, I can't even go on a trip to Ghana. But I visited the slave castles in Cape Coast and looked past the cannons of the big wall in the Atlantic and the ocean that they call the Gulf of Guinea. And I contemplated on the fact that every major hurricane that finds its ways to the shores of America originates and gathers its strength at the foot of the door of no return, where they marched thousands of our ancestors out to die or to start their voyage into slavery. That every hurricane that lands on the shores of the Caribbean, on the shores of South America, on the shores of America, find their origin in the ancestors at the foot of slavery. It made me believe that God is real. I began to understand that I celebrate not a if God, but a even though God. That even though we were enslaved, even though we crossed the Atlantic, even though we are going through what we go through, that God is real, that He is alive, and that America is still paying for what they've done to our ancestors, millions of us, what they've done to us. In every hurricane that land blasts on these shores, God fashions it in His hands. I take comfort in believing that. I take comfort in knowing that God is still on the throne, that He's still on our side, that the same God that led Harriet through the Underground Railroad is the same God that let Myrlie Evers bring her husband's killers to justice decades later. The same God that placed King's Bible in the hands of President Barack Obama as he took the oath of office is the God we serve today. And if this is a fact, and if this is true, and if we honestly believe this, then what the hell are we waiting for? That all of the things we discuss and argue and fight about, that all we have to do is get up. All we have to do is stand up. And people say, stay woke. Well, get woke then. And once you get woke, get some information. Then when you get some information, damn it, get going. Get going. We can't leave people like our sister Angela Rye out there fighting day in and day out. For us, she needs a movement of people behind her, making sure that we force these people to live up to the meaning of the creed, the things that they wrote on paper, that America will never be America without its lost children, the African American and people of color in this country. That being said, we have an incredible program for you today. I am honored and pleased that we have Angela Rye with us today. I'm also honored and pleased that we have Shakira McKnight, our own Angela Rye, here in the city of Newark with us. And she's going to do the pleasure, the honor of introducing our keynote speaker in a few minutes. But Shakira, y'all watch out for her. When y'all see her, you say thank you. When she need help, you stay with her. You embrace her, you support her, you hug her. You make sure that she's not out here fighting on her own, that she's not alone, that the future of our city, of our state, lies in the hands of our children. And Shakira McKnight is doing an awesome, awesome, awesome job for us here in the city of Newark. God bless her and God speed to us. And all of you brothers out there, before I walk away, I want to say, hold the line. Hold the line, gentlemen. God bless y'all and Godspeed.